Hey guys, welcome to the Traditional Bow Hunting Wilderness Podcast. This is Jason Samkovic. Today we are going to talk about the difference between a left wing feather, a right wing feather, a right bevel head, and a left single bevel head so that you understand the differences and what you may or may not want to shoot, some things about them, and some things that are kind of rules that have to go together. So we're going to break this down a minute for you and explain the differences. Now, how do you identify what one is what? How do you know what feather is what on a feather? Very easy to do. Now, if we look at right here, this is a left wing feather. Okay, these are what I've shot basically my whole life here. But if we looked at a left wing feather, I'm going to get that where you can focus on that, where that'll focus for you. But you can see that as the wind from my angle would go down this area here where you're at. So as my wind would go down, I'll come in closer here like this. But so as the wind comes over this arrow, the back of the arrow curls this way. So it is going to spin that arrow to the left as I'm shooting it, as I see it, as I'm looking at that, it is going to spin where you'll be able to see, but it will spin to the left side like that. Okay, that's what's basically going to happen there. Again, trying to catch focus on there, but it is spinning to the left because the wind comes down and throws it. Another easy way to tell is if you look at the back of the feather, okay, I'll try and come in real close for this, but if you look at the back of that feather, you can see that where the quill, hang on, sorry, there we go. Where the quill meets the base of that makes a letter L from the way you're looking at it. So if I'm looking at it down a knock, the quill here meets the white base and it makes a letter L. Okay, a perfect legible letter L. And I'll show it again here, right there. I'll even come in closer for you. But you can see that it makes a letter L right there where the quill meets the base. So that makes an L. But also, if you're looking at it, if the back of the feather, the tail part back here, swings to the right, that means that it's going to twist to the left. That's another way you can tell. So if you look at it again, you can see that that back end swings to the right, which means it's going to twist to the left as it goes. So that's basically how you can tell a right wing or a left wing. Now when you look at them in comparison with this one, this here being a right wing feather, I will show you the difference. You can see them here side by side. And there you go, and I'm going to put my hand there for focus so the camera can catch it. And I'm looking right there, you can see the difference in the direction of travel and the way they spin and the way they're set up there. And you can see that L in the actual camera. You can see that L on the left wing makes that L where the quill meets the base, and on the right it doesn't, it goes the other way. So that's how you can tell. So a right wing feather, the wind will hit this, and it will cause that feather, as you can see, as you look down that shaft, you can tell which way that's going. It is going to come down, this wind's going to come down here and hit that feather that curls that way and spin it this direction. See how that's going to spin it? As the wind's coming from me to that arrow, it will spin it that way, which as you see is to your right. So it is going to spin to the right, just like this, and that is what we're talking about when we say a right wing or left wing feather as far as how they're going to fly. So you need to know that, okay? If you're going to shoot single bevel broadheads, you need to know that. But before we get to the broadhead part, let's talk about who should be shooting a right wing and who should be shooting a left wing feather. It doesn't make any difference, okay? There's two trains of thought when you go back 25 years ago when I started this. 25 years ago, it was very hard for people to get right wing feathers, so pretty much everybody shot left wing. I don't remember the reasoning why, but it was hard to get the right wing. Left wing was much more available years ago, 25, 30 years ago. So many people started that way. Now you can get them both very readily available, but the idea now, the concept for people is that they want it. So like if I take another left wing one here just with a practice tip, so they're broadheads, and I take my bow, this is a left wing feather, okay? So when I put this up, and you can see by the way what's going to happen here. Wind's going to come down that feather and spin it that way, all right? That's not what people typically, the old wives' tale, is that you want that so that when that arrow, when you come back and you draw, and you let go of that string as you shoot that arrow should be rolling away from your bow. Okay, you want that to spin away from the bow is what they say. Well, for me that would mean I should shoot a right wing feather to get that to spin away. because mine doesn't. Mine, as you know, is a left wing, which means it's going to spin into the bow. Okay, it's going to spin into the bow like that, like this. I'm going to tip it up so you can see it perspective-wise. But so as this shoots forward, it is going to start spinning that way into my bow. And they used to believe that you would want it to spin out away from the bow. Now, it doesn't make any difference because of the fact that, let's just take a look at that as far as on brace. Look at the distance here, okay? So if I were to take this bow and I were to draw this back and shoot this, that string is in that knock of that bow as this is going to come forward on brace till about right there is probably where that's going to release at, okay? So as I let that string go, it's going to, the string is still in the knock of the arrow till about right there is when it's going to release, okay? So from right there at that spot, from here, do you think it's actually going to matter if it spins away? Because actually your arrow is going to roll around your riser anyway, but do you think it, from right here, it is not going to start spinning? From being released there to here is going to make no difference. So that arrow isn't going to start like that right there, okay? The wind has to hit your feathers to get the arrow to spin. Until the wind hits it, it's not going to do nothing. And here the string influences that so much that it's going to be out here before that arrow starts to even spin. So it's going to make absolutely zero difference on your bow whether you shoot right or you shoot left. So that's been busted many times before, so it does not matter. Now, what I did find out that I never known, because I've never shot a right wing feather. Never before have I needed to. And then Jason at Tough Head came out with this prototype head right here, and it's a right bevel head. And his prototypes, because he shoots right bevels, are all right bevel heads. So for me, in order to shoot this head, which will explain why, I needed right wing feathers, okay? Well, this one I just had made up for, I just got this arrow, I just made this arrow, but I had a buddy that didn't live too far away that had right wing feathers, or shot right wing, and I said, hey, let me try that arrow, so I just wanted to see what it would be like. I did not like the fact of, I don't like right wing feathers for me, and there's a reason, which we'll get into, because it was very valuable for me to learn. But anyway, I shot that arrow, realized I didn't care for the right wing too much, but knew I needed some for this. Well, I told Jason at Tough Head, I said, hey, I don't shoot right wing, and I don't have anybody that can make me, that I want to make me right wing, so I'll have to figure that out. And he said, well, I got an extra right wing clamp, I'll send you one for your jigs. I use Jojen jigs, they don't make them anymore, and you can't get the clamps for them anymore. He's like, well, I got a couple of those, I'll send you one to use. So he sent me the clamp that works in my jig so I could make this arrow up. And then I was complaining to, on Instagram and stuff and things like that, not complaining, but saying I got to build a right wing arrow. Well, come to find out, yesterday in the mail, I get a letter in the mail right here. The letter says right wing feathers for your new Tough Heads, okay? And then I get all of these, plus the ones I made already, but I get all of these feathers right here. All of these right wing full size feathers just show up by my buddy Chuck Morris. He sent these to me. I didn't even know they were coming. I knew nothing about it. He just shipped them right to me with that note in there, which was absolutely amazing. Hell of a guy. This community is so filled with people. Like I said, not only did Jason at Tough Head send me one of his prototypes. It cost him about $100 for him to build it. It's a prototype, so they're not in production. It cost him about $100 to make that head. He sent it to me to test. You got him. He sent me. It's probably $40, $50 worth of these naturally barred feathers that he sent me. The goodness of his heart. Just nice people. His community is amazing. The people in them are incredible. And I never asked for either one of the feathers to clamp. Just amazing people. Okay, but anyway, so I built this right wing feather. Now you will notice on here too, not by a long shot, but you will notice how much further down those feathers are from that knock on this. Okay, see how the right wing one, they're further down than just a little bit, quarter inch further away from the knock for the feather. The distance from here to here, these are down a little further. Well, I did that on purpose because I had to try and find a way to see if that would help to get it out of my face. Because when I shoot with a left wing, which again, I never knew this because I never shot anything but left wing, but I build my arrows so I have enough room here to be able to get my fingers through there. Okay, so when I set my fletching, even with gloves on, I want enough room to be able to take my fingers, where I'm putting this feather at on here, is set up in a specific spot for me on purpose so that I have enough room to come into here with my fingers and not make that noise and hit that feather, you know, like that as I'm coming into this. I don't want to do that. I want to be able to get my hand with my tab and reach in there and not hit those feathers. I don't want them too far forward because I used to shoot longer feathers and you wouldn't have enough room. So it's just kind of, that's where I want them. But what happens as I shoot with a left wing feather, if you look at the feather right here, see how the back end curls down, right? You got center right here. This is your cock feather center right there. These are your perfect two alignments for that side of that arrow right there as they go down. Actually, right there is perfectly lined up. But on this side, you have that perfect, you know, so it's going to right down my shelf like that. You have this side up as cock feather. Now when I draw this, because of the fact that it curls in a, where are you at here? Because this curls down, it goes under my nose. So when I draw this feather goes right under my nose like that. See how it's tucked under there, nice and perfect? I bring that back and that goes right under my nose and hides right there out of the way and doesn't make any noise. Boom, I release, it's gone. Come back in, I lock in, it's right under my nose. So that's where I like that, and I always set it up that way, but I never put much thought into it. Well, when I shot that other right wing feather, it puts that feather because of the curl going up on this case. See, now here it's going to spin this way like that. Well, what's going to happen is that is going to put this cock feather into my nose. I don't like the way it feels. So as I take this arrow and I draw this back, that feather curling up now comes right in. See how it comes right into my nose? It's not going under. And I need that feather here set up right. But as I draw that back and I bring that back, it comes right into my nose. And it just bugs me how that hits my nose right there. So as I draw it, comes in, it hits my nose, and I don't like that. So for me, I will be sticking with left wing feathers. Now this one, I am going to suffer through it and test this one because like I said, I want to shoot this head. I'm excited to give him feedback on it. This head is excellent, so I'm very pumped up, very gracious that he gave me a clamp, very, very gracious that, you know, Chuck Moore sent me the feathers to use. I'm excited about using this, but pretty interesting, so it's something you might want to consider. So if you are a left-handed shooter, a right wing feather, like I'm shooting here, may be an issue for you. I don't know, you'll have to test, but if that's coming into your nose like that, and you're drawing, and that's coming right into your nose like that, you can see it here, that could be a problem for you, the way you shoot. Or maybe you shoot a higher face and it's not, I don't know. But the way I shoot hunked in, that hits my nose and I don't like it. Where a left wing, for me, curls down, and when I draw that back, that goes right under my nose, and it's never, I don't ever have that, anything hitting a feather, which, as you hear, okay, as that bumps you, I don't want that noise. I don't want to deal with that, and I don't like the distraction. I want it quiet, out of the way, and shoot it. So, for me, something to consider. So, as a left-handed shooter, believe it or not, a left wing feather actually gets that out of your way, where a right wing for a left-handed shooter, a right wing will curl that up into your nose. Now if you're right-handed, a left wing feather will do the exact opposite, and this will be the one that could be a problem for you. So if you're right-handed, now that feather is curling upward. So as I draw back, puts it right into my nose. See how that comes in and that feather's hitting my nose right there? I don't want that. Where if you're right-handed, a right wing will most definitely probably get that cock feather down under your nose, just like that as you see me draw. Actually, let me hold it straight, sorry, turn that one, but you can see that that gets that under my nose in there. So something to consider for you as far as what one you may or may not want to go with. Now, if you are shooting a single bevel broadhead, this here is a double bevel head. This head that you're seeing right here is Magnus. You sharpen all four sides. This side, and then the other two on that one. So you sharpen all four sides of this head, okay, equal angles. Now on a single bevel, you do not. On a single bevel, you are going to sharpen that bevel that you see glowing there, that super silver shiny side right here that's glowing. And then you will so you're going to sharpen this side really well. And then when you flip it, on this side, you're just going to basically take that burr off and just lightly hit it. So they're single bevels, so they're designed to twist. So with these heads, what's going to happen for you is when you shoot this head, because of this bevel that's on here, on this one here, which is a left bevel, so when this goes in to an animal, this side right here, this bevel, is going to spin that head that way. And as it goes forward, this blade here on this side with that bevel on there, which you can see that bevel glowing? As that goes in, this bevel will turn that head that way. Guess what? If we're looking at it, the head is going to go in and it is going to turn this way. Which way is this arrow flying? This is a left feather arrow with a left bevel broadhead. So as that head, it leaves the bow, this arrow is spinning like this. Okay, I'm going to tip it up so you can see the angle of the feathers. It is spinning like this, and then when it hits the animal, boom, and goes in, that broadhead is going to keep spinning the same direction. So you don't have the broadhead blade spinning, fighting the feathers when it impacts. Because when it impacts, an arrow impacts, even with a two blade or a double bevel head, it may spin, but as soon as it comes into contact with the target, boom, it stops spinning and goes straight. With these heads, it doesn't. It keeps spinning, hits the target, slows down, but still continues to twist its way through there. So you want to match the bevel of a single bevel head to the wing of your feather, the spin and rotation, so that the arrow shaft is spinning in the same direction as the blades of the broadhead will when they come into contact. So that's why it's important, because if you were to do it in reverse and you had this arrow spinning, again, I'll tip it up for purposes of viewing, but if you had the arrow spinning this way, like this, and then when it comes into contact with that animal, again, the broadhead will then, once this touches that skin, it is going to overpower this. The feathers will actually stop spinning and the broadhead will take over. Well, if the arrow is spinning this way, and then it hits, and then it wants to spin that way, now you have the head fighting the natural rotation of that arrow in flight, and then it has to backtrack. So you end up not getting the full effect of that single bevel as you want to. So you want to match them. How do you know if you have a right or left bevel? Well, if you think of that big bevel that's on that broadhead, okay, if you think of this shiny edge, which is right here, that big shiny edge versus, basically almost what we'll call it a dull edge. It's not. But if you look at that shiny edge and think of that as the direction that it's going to turn. Okay, whatever that is, you push it, it's going to turn. That's how that works. That's what's going to give the rotation of that. When that hits an animal, that's how you know is those are going to turn in that direction. Now, another easy way to identify that too is if you're holding it and looking at it, the way you're seeing this, you see how that makes this. Let me get it where you get that full shine. Hang on. Okay, so you're getting it right there. That makes a perfect L. Okay, it makes an L. If you take down the blade to the bottom of the broadhead, it makes that L shaped on there. There you go. So you can see it's got an L shape on that shiny side. That's how you know. So if the bevel, this being the bevel, when you look at it from your angle is on the left, then it's a left bevel head. If you look at it from your angle, and that bevel, let me get these side by side where I can still put a hand behind them for purposes here. So if you look at the one that's over here, the one that's got the letter B on it, the bevel is actually on the right. Okay, that means it's a right bevel head. So if the bevel is on the right, right bevel head. Bevel on the left, left bevel head. So it's very easy to figure out. But even if you forget that, if you just look at the dynamics of the way, we'll use that one again. If you look at the dynamics of the way that's going to spin, and you see that, you know that with that bevel there, it is going to push that way, okay? With that bevel there, it's going to push that way. So it's going to go around that way, which is also the same direction that the wind will come down these feathers. The back end is what turns, okay? The front end of a feather steers. So as you look at these feathers on here, let's get that set here. The front of the feathers are what steer, but the back, this curl, is what actually, so if I put it that way, and you can look at that feather right there, this is the part that steers, but as that wind comes between this channel, it hits this flare on here, and that's what causes that arrow to spin that way. Wind comes through here, hits that flare, and causes it to spin that way. Wind comes through here, hits that flare, causes it to spin that way. Same thing with your broadhead. Okay, if we look at the head on here, bring it in where you can again see it here, but with that head, the wind hits this side right here, or the meat when this goes in, that is going to cause that head with this edge here and this edge here to spin that way around. Okay, same thing here. The bevel there and the bevel here will cause it to spin like that. So that is how these work. That's understanding single bevel broadheads, right and left wing feathers, and what may or may not work for you, and what you may or may not want to use. So it gives you an idea how to set things up. Now if you're using a double bevel head like this, it doesn't matter, because once this flies, is that head, let's put it on one here for the heck of it. These are all my practice ones, except for even this one. It's just practice arrow right now, but this one is actually that right wing. That is what I'm going to hunt with this year with that prototype head. So I got 3 of these arrows made up just like this with that prototype on there that I'm going to be running, because again, I don't have any, that's my right wing setup, but these are all just some of my practice arrows. So if I put this head on here with that, with a standard double bevel head, what happens is that arrow is going to go boom, and it's flying and it's twisting and it's twisting and it's twisting. As soon as this comes into contact with meat, that arrow will twist, 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 and as soon as it hits, it stops twisting. Feathers do not move, and this is going to go straight through and make a straight cut, just like that, right in there. It's just going to, I'll come in from the side, so this is going to come in and hit, and when it does, it is just going to go straight like this and make no difference, okay? Double bevel head is equal pressure on both sides of the blade. Fantastic system, been used for many, many years. With a double bevel head like this, as this comes through, again, you're spinning, spinning, spinning as it goes, but as this comes through and goes right through there like that, it comes in and it goes through. As it comes and passes through there, now the force of these blades and those bevels that you're seeing on there are going to make this start twisting like this as it goes through that animal. So it gives that real crazy S-shaped cut on there. I've never killed an animal with a single bevel yet, so I can't tell you that. I'm going to. I'm excited to. I have shot double bevels, these Magnus heads, for over 20 years. Killed over 100 animals with them. I love these heads. But with the single bevel, I have 2 different versions. I have this prototype head by Jason. I've done videos on, I think 2 videos now. One all about this head, and another one I talked about it on my Broadhead video. But this will be the head that I'm going to use. And I only have 1 of these though. But it gave me, it's a double bevel prototype head of his. It's not going to be out for a couple years. These A. Boyer heads are very, very similar, almost the same exact kind of shape and everything there, and this is also single bevel, and I have 3 of these. So in total, I have 4 single bevel heads that are on the correct wing or feather, right and left wing feathers to be able to give me 4 single bevel heads that I get to experiment with this year and try them out and see what I think. So, but that explains for you right bevel, left bevel, how the twist works on a right wing, on a left wing, what you might want to shoot, some things to look out for. Again, funny. 25 years of shooting arrows, and I said, it don't matter if you shoot right or left, it isn't going to make any difference at all. Well, I never shot a right wing, and then when I did, I noticed that right off the bat immediately. It comes right into my nose. I do not like that, and yes, again, I could lift my head. I don't want to do that. I don't want to change that. I could twist that arrow so it's like that and almost be a cock feather in. I don't want to do that either. There's no reason I should have to. So for me, right wing, no reason for me to go to right wing, like I said, especially when they make a left bevel head that matches already. And I know that Jason eventually will have left bevels out in this. That one's still, like I said, prototype anyway. So for me, as a lefty, I'm very glad that I shoot a left wing feather and that gets that right out of my way. I do not have that feather coming into my nose. Comes right out of the way underneath there like that. Perfect. So hopefully this helpful video for you. Steers you right in a direction and debunks a couple myths that you may have wondered about which way you have to have the feathers roll off the arrow, or I mean off the bow. None of that stuff matters. Just pick whichever one works best for you, but make sure if you're shooting single bevel, you match the head bevel to the actual twist direction of the feathers. Left bevel, left wing feathers. Right bevel head, right wing feathers. Those are the 2 only rules that matter. Right wing head, right wing feathers. Left bevel head, left wing feathers. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Bye.